So I'm driving into town this morning, just running errands, dropping off laundry. Got to get coffee, start the day before I start to write. And I decided to take a longer loop back and then a weird shortcut that goes by the main mosque and through some rubber trees and then to come back to the loop and head home. Just a little bit of a scenic route to clear my mind before a day of tip-tap. And I take that last little turn before the main loop, and on the side of the road, I see this little marmalade kitten kind of crouched at the side of the road, and I call to it, and there's no response. As I pass by, I just get this feeling in my gut and decide to loop back right away. And I thought it was crouching on this little pile of red leaves, and the leaves were not leaves. It was the kitten's guts, little red intestines and belly, and a little heart splayed out on the road, poured out like, I don't know, some can of stew. And if you know me, you know that's not making a joke. You know, I came here back in 2013 to write a series about cats because I love them. And being on a Muslim island where cats were essentially worshipped, it felt like the right place to be. And this was one of the rare times I saw the victim of a road strike there on the road. Usually the locals are very quick to, to bury and to honor the cats who fall here. And I didn't have the strength, not in that moment, to move it. But I saw an older lady and she saw me looking at the cat and she just kind of waved to me and nodded and went to pick up a shovel. And so I drove off, and I remember pulling onto the main loop and looking up at the cloudy sky and thinking, you are making it really hard to like this place. And by this place, I didn't mean this island. It's been very good to me. I think you know what I mean. I meant being alive. And who I was speaking to as the you, of course, was whatever, God, the great consciousness. To have an experience of suffering like that, I think when you're an empathetic being, when you can feel the suffering of another creature, I relived its last moments. I imagined everyone's reaction to its last moments. I felt them as if they were my own. Being alive hurts a lot, and you have so many things in modern culture or in pop culture like, oh, just be positive. Oh, life is a gift. Whenever I hear that broken refrain in my head, I can't help but go back to, you might laugh, but there was that old episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Again, I reference Buffy, but it was the musical episode, and it was Buffy and Spike singing to each other, life isn't bliss, life is just this, it's living. You've got to go on living, so one of us is living. Yeah. I think it was William S. Burroughs who said that, this isn't the universe of love. We live in a universe of war. And I think what he meant by that is the fact that we're birthed into this world screaming and bloody. The Big Bang was the most violent event in physical history on a particle level. On a subatomic quantum level, the destruction involved in that to bring about form and order. Everything that consumes everything else, everything we eat, whether we think we're being kind to being a vegetarian or not, is consuming and destroying and processing other matter so we can continue. Every one of our dreams and wishes fulfilled is the death of a dream or a wish for someone else. There are many philosophers who say God is neither good nor evil. God just is. It's kind of the origin of that whole, is it the Confucian point of view? That whole, it is what it is. So many people say now, it is what it is. Which basically just means that there's not good, there's not bad. That's a duality. It just is. And why am I saying all this? Because I'm driving and I'm thinking this, and I'm thinking about the suffering of being alive. I'm thinking about the fucking absurd, dark joke that is living and getting older, as you obviously heard from the last dream I posted. And suddenly I am overwhelmed with this tingling, gut-wrenching feeling of deja vu. The world gets wobbly and very that moment in the Matrix where Keanu flexes and the whole world around goes boom. And I have to pull over my bike to the side of the road by a gas station. And I remember something. And what I remember is from a couple of months ago, I remember a dream. And I think I discounted the dream because it was after an afternoon nap. And yes, I'm an old guy, so I nap every day in the afternoon. They say it's good for you. They recommend executives do it. They say the older you get, the more you need that afternoon nap. You can sleep less at night, but you need a nap. And yes, most days I try to take a 30 to 45-minute nap. And I suddenly had a full recollection of a dream I had had in a nap about 2 or 3 months ago. And I think I just discounted it, disregarded it, discarded it because I had fallen asleep watching Netflix or something. I think it was some stupid superhero thing. And I say that because, deep down we all wish we were superheroes with powers so we had more control, so we could help others, so we could feel like gods. And so I was just having a dream related to that. But no, I don't think that I was now. Because it really was stirring, and it really was vivid, and it really was surreal, and it really felt important, but I pushed it away because of the imagery. And it's not like the last one. It's quite simple, but powerful in that I'm seeing the end of the universe. I talked about the most violent moment in the universe being its birth. I'm seeing its end, the reverse, the big crunch. Everything blew out and now everything is coalescing and coming back together. It has all evolved to the point where every particle in this great system suddenly has self-awareness. It is all part of one mind, and I'm almost there observing it like a reporter, calling into CNN, calling into Fox and saying, here's what's happening. All the particles are coming back together again. We're coalescing. We're finally going to understand the purpose of it all. We're finally going to understand the mind of God as it comes back together and forms. And suddenly, as the whole thing reforms back to infinitely small, but still holding infinity within it, suddenly it takes form. And this is going to sound funny. It's going to sound stupid, but please bear with me for a second because I do believe it's important. It all came back together, and suddenly it's this humanoid being in like a superhero costume, like a Green Lantern or a Martian Manhunter or a Captain America, whatever. It's a Superman costume. It's something like this, right? And it's standing in the darkness going, I'm awake again. I'm alive. I remember, this whole process of being the universe was falling asleep and losing consciousness and losing self, like the Hindu origin myth. And then suddenly, after all that work of making every particle in reality slowly wake up to remember itself and come back so the whole system could remember itself again, the great and mighty being is standing in darkness going, I remember, and goes to raise its hands and realizes its wrists are shackled. Its wrists are shackled and there's light coming from above, and the thing comes to the horrific realization that it is in a pit, it is in a prison, it had been chained there. That the forced unconsciousness of creating this reality was actually like a prison, like the Matrix, which I'm assuming many of you have seen. We've all been put asleep and put into this prison to power something else. And what a powerful, powerful story, what a powerful allegory or parable, whatever you want to call it, fable. And my dream was showing me the same thing, the realization that the universe itself was this conscious living being that had been fooled, that had been tricked and chained in this prison and forced to dream reality, and then slowly over billions upon billions of years remember itself and wake back up only to realize it had been fooled. It had been tricked. It was imprisoned, and then suddenly in the darkness around this great and mighty being were other gods. Shadowy, heroic figures also chained there. Other universes, other realities, all going through the same process again and again and again. And our superhero, our reality, is trying to raise its hands towards the light and break free, and is calling to the others to do the same. And as it does this sacred kind of desperate scream of a chant reaching for the light, there are hands reaching down. Not dark, not evil, not foreboding hands, but hands made of light reaching down, trying to help pull these beings free because they are in a war. These are imprisoned soldiers that need to get back to the battlefield to fight the threat that had combined together to fool them, to pull the veil over their eyes, to trick them into imprisoning themselves. And then I woke up. And for a second, I flashed to a great Hindu myth I had used in another one of my stories, a graphic novel called Becoming. And in that myth, Indra, the king of the Hindu gods, he's about to lead his pantheon in a war against the demons, the multidimensional, astral, all-powerful demons. And the war is going to take place on Earth. We're just pawns down here, us humans and other living beings and the plants and the trees and the fishies and everything else. But these gods are about to wage war in our realm. But before the war happens, Indra, the king of the gods, the great general, says, I need to go down and understand the battlefield first. The other gods are worried. They're afraid something bad will happen. But Indra comes down. If you know this one, play along. If you don't know this one, please. It's a great little story. I'll be quick. And Indra comes down and he ends up manifesting in the body of a pig. And has to process this new reality of the hooves and the skin and the urge to eat and to poop and then to fuck. Suddenly it's like, oh, look, there's a girl piggy. I need to have that. Oh, look, there's food over there. I need to have that. Oh, I need to roll in the mud. And after a period of time, of course, astral time, God time, is quite different than the human scale of simple linear time. But after some time passes, the pantheon of gods is like bellowing down, hey, boss. Hey, you done down there? And Indra, with like what remains of his consciousness, because he's fallen into the body of this pig, is like, later, go away, leave me alone, I'm experiencing this. And continues to live this life and mates with another pig and has baby pigs and rolls in the mud and eats and sleeps and eats and sleeps and shits and fucks and just lives, watches the sunrise, watches the sunset, just lives in the moment, and it's beautiful. But he's been down there so long, he's forgotten himself. And his gods, his pantheon of gods, his soldiers look down from the heavenly kingdom and go, we've got to do something. And so they marshal their powers and pull in a storm, summon together the forces of nature and send down a lightning bolt, which cleaves his little Mrs. Piggy in two with a shriek, and does the same to his 3 piggy children with a horrific shriek as they burst into flames. And Indra in his pig body screams and screams the suffering of the most suffering you can imagine, at the deepest loss you can imagine, until a final lightning bolt strikes him in the center of the forehead, strikes him in the third eye, cleaves him in twain, and his soul screams upon its release. And in that scream comes laughter. That scream becomes a oh my God. I forgot who I was. I forgot what I was. I forgot what I was doing here. I forgot my why. I forgot my purpose while I was down here. Oh my goodness. Wait. That is what we're fighting for. That is why we are going down to fight the demons. That is what it means to be alive. These poor creatures in the earth realm that we are going to fight the demons for, they don't know what they really are. They've forgotten, because that realm is a prison of forgetting. It is a dark and distant dream. It is a nightmare. And we have to help them all wake up and remember. And that's what I was reminded of today, seeing that poor little kitten. And that's what I was reminded of in that dream I had months ago, the suffering of being alive, to the realization of maybe this isn't such a good place. It's not that we should defile it and ruin the environment and make others suffer. We should limit the suffering of others, because by limiting the suffering of others from a selfless heart, we can help them wake up and break out of the real prison. The real construct, the real thing holding us back from our divine purpose. To be universal superheroes. To fight the true good fight. To be 12-dimensional beings of infinite power to rally together and dispel the darkness once and for all. Or something. Let me know what you think.